Imagine waking up every day with a silent risk of a blood clot that can lead to a devastating stroke or heart attack. And all this happening because of a popular food that millions of Americans consume daily, without ever suspecting the danger. As a cardiologist with over 20 years treating elderly patients here in the United States, I see this happen all the time in emergency rooms. But what if I told you that simply avoiding this sneaky food can significantly reduce your risk of clots, improve blood circulation, bring more energy to everyday life, and help you live more years with quality and independence? I'm Dr. Natisha, a cardiologist specializing in heart health for seniors, and over the next 50 minutes I'll reveal exactly what this food is, explain the science behind the risk, and show you how you can protect your heart starting today. Feel free to write your city in the comments below. It is always a great pleasure to hear from people from all over the country who are watching and taking care of themselves. If you like what you're going to learn here and want to get more alerts like this right in your feed, give it a like now and subscribe to the channel, so you never miss a tip that can save your life or that of someone you love. Shall we begin? What you eat every day without thinking may be betraying your heart. Stay with me. Over the past 20 years as a cardiologist here in the United States, treating thousands of elderly patients in hospital emergency rooms from coast to coast, I have seen the same pattern repeated alarmingly. An apparently healthy elderly person, perhaps in their 60s or 70s, wakes up with a pain in the leg that he ignores as ordinary muscle pain, or feels unexplained fatigue that he attributes to aging. Days later, a silent blood clot travels to the lungs, causing a pulmonary embolism, or blocks an artery in the brain, leading to a devastating stroke. These clots, known as deep vein thrombosis or embolism, are not rare. According to data from the American Heart Association, millions of older Americans face significant risk of blood clots every year, and the number continues to grow as the population ages. 1 in 3 elderly people who experience a serious event like this could have avoided or drastically reduced their risk with simple changes, but that most do not even imagine they need to do. Why are the elderly so vulnerable? As we age, our arteries lose natural elasticity, the inner lining becomes more prone to inflammation, and the blood tends to get thicker and slower. Metabolism slows down, which means that fats and substances that cause inflammation take longer to process. Add to this common medications for high blood pressure or cholesterol, and the risk rises even higher. Many of my patients tell me, "Dr. Natisha, I do everything right. I walk a little, I take my medicines, I eat what I always ate." But this is exactly where the danger lurks. In daily habits that seem harmless, but which over the years promote chronic inflammation, harden the arteries and activate clotting factors in the blood. Think of it as a silent time bomb. Clots don't scream warning. They form slowly, often without clear symptoms until it is too late. I've lost patients who ate the same snack every day, believing it was healthy or normal for their age. A 72-year-old retired man who loved his morning sandwich. He told me he never imagined something so common could be contributing to the clot that nearly killed him. And most worryingly, most American seniors consume this food every day, sometimes several times a day, unaware of the impact on their heart and circulation. Studies show that certain daily eating habits can increase arterial inflammation by up to 25% in people over 60. Creating the perfect environment for clots to form. But here's the good news I want you to take home today. This doesn't have to be your destiny. I see patients who change a single habit and within weeks report lighter legs, more energy, and scans that show better circulation. Prevention is within reach. And it starts with understanding what's happening in your body right now. In the next few minutes, I'll reveal exactly what this popular sneaky food is that millions of older Americans consume daily without suspecting the risk it poses to clots and heart health. Get ready, because what you'll discover could change the way you look at your daily meal forever. The moment you've been waiting for has arrived, and it could change the way you view your daily meal forever. As promised, I will reveal exactly what this popular sneaky food is that so many American seniors consume every day, often several times a day, without ever imagining the silent impact it can have on the risk of blood clots and heart health. Get ready. The culprit is cheese. Yes, you heard it right, cheese. That melted cheese on your morning sandwich, the cheddar slices on your afternoon snack, the grated cheese on your salad or on the pizza you order on the weekends, the mac and cheese that is a comforting classic on so many American tables. Millions of seniors here in the United States include cheese in their daily diet, thinking it is a healthy option, rich in calcium, protein, and even good for bones in old age. But in reality, especially cheeses high in saturated fat, such as cheddar, processed Americano, generously portioned mozzarella, and lots of sliced cheeses, are contributing to a risk that grows slowly year after year. Why do I call it sneaky? Because cheese is seen as harmless. It is a food that American families love, which is in almost every supermarket, in fast food restaurants, and even in light options that people think are safe. Many of my patients tell me, "Dear Natisha, I eat cheese because it is practical, tasty, and I have heard that dairy is good for the elderly." But here's what science shows, and what I see in practice every day in clinics and emergencies. The saturated fats present in high amounts in cheese, especially in the creamier and more processed types, increase LDL cholesterol, the one known as bad, which accumulates in the walls of arteries. Over time, this causes chronic inflammation in the blood vessels, making them stiffer and more likely to form plaques. When arteries are inflamed and narrowed, blood flow slows, and the blood thickens, the perfect environment for clots to form. Studies published in the Journal of the American College of Cardiology and reviews from the American Heart Association highlight that excessive consumption of saturated fats from sources such as whole milk can elevate markers of inflammation and clotting, particularly in people over 60, when metabolism is already slower and arteries lose natural elasticity. In addition, many popular cheeses are loaded with sodium, and excess sodium causes fluid retention, increases blood pressure, and contributes to stress on the veins, another factor that facilitates the formation of deep vein thrombosis, especially in the legs, which is where most dangerous clots begin. I have seen dozens of elderly patients who, after years of consuming cheese daily in moderate to large portions, have developed clots without obvious factors such as recent surgery or prolonged immobility. Cheese was the silent habit that no one questioned. But it's not just theory. In American populations studied, daily consumption of cheeses rich in saturated fat has been associated with a higher risk of cardiovascular events in the elderly, because the cumulative effect of saturated fats adds to the natural aging of the circulatory system. And the worst thing, many elderly people think they are doing something positive by choosing cheese over sweet snacks or fried foods, but they end up exchanging one risk for an even more insidious one. Now that you know the truth, you don't need to panic. Cheese is not poison, and in very moderate amounts, some types can even be part of a balanced diet. But daily consumption, especially of the more fatty and processed types that are the most common on American tables, is what turns a seemingly innocent food into a sneaky risk for clots. In the next few minutes, we'll dive into the science behind it, with studies, biological mechanisms, and what actually happens in your body when you consume cheese every day. You'll understand exactly why this is so dangerous for seniors and how to spot the subtle signals your body may be giving. Stay with me. The full revelation is just beginning. Now that we've revealed the culprit, cheese, especially the high, saturated fat types like cheddar, processed Americano, and mozzarella in generous portions, let's dive into the science behind the danger. As a cardiologist who treats seniors every day here in the United States, I base my recommendations on solid evidence, not assumptions. And science clearly shows how daily cheese consumption can silently and cumulatively increase the risk of blood clots. First, the main mechanism: saturated fats in cheese. According to guidelines from the American Heart Association, saturated fats raise LDL, the bad cholesterol, which settles on artery walls, causing atherosclerosis, the hardening and narrowing of vessels. In the elderly, whose arteries have already lost natural elasticity with aging, this process accelerates. Oxidized LDL triggers chronic inflammation in blood vessels, and inflammation is a powerful trigger for clotting. When inflamed arteries become irregular, platelets and clotting factors activate more easily, forming clots that can travel to the heart, lungs, or brain. Studies show that diets high in saturated fats from whole dairy increase markers of inflammation and clotting, especially in people over 60 when metabolism is slower. The American Heart Association warns that excessive consumption of saturated fats contributes to high LDL levels, increasing the risk of serious cardiovascular events, including those related to clots. In older Americans who often consume cheese daily on sandwiches, pizzas, or snacks, the cumulative effect is worrisome. The blood thickens, the flow slows, and the risk of deep vein thrombosis in the legs, which can lead to pulmonary embolism, rises significantly. Another aggravating factor: the high sodium in many processed and sliced cheeses common in American supermarkets. Sodium causes fluid retention, raises blood pressure, and stresses the veins, making it easier for clots to form. I see it in practice. Elderly patients who eat cheese every day report swollen legs or subtle fatigue, early signs that indicate circulatory stress. But what about the evidence? Reviews in the Journal of the American College of Cardiology and data from the American Heart Association show that although some observational studies suggest that cheese as a whole may have neutral effects in certain contexts due to the complex dietary matrix, with calcium and probiotics, excessive daily consumption of varieties rich in saturated fat is linked to increased cardiovascular risk in elderly populations. Controlled trials show that replacing saturated fats with healthier sources reduces inflammation and improves endothelial function, the inner lining of arteries that regulates clotting. In a study analyzing American cohorts, diets high in saturated fats from dairy products were associated with greater activation of clotting factors such as factor VII after high-fat meals, increasing blood coagulability for hours. For seniors whose coagulation system is already more prone to imbalances, this is like adding fuel to a slow fire. Subtle symptoms that many ignore, such as mild leg pain, swelling, or a feeling of heaviness, may be the first signs that the blood is becoming more prone to forming clots. The good news: science also shows that reducing daily consumption of fatty cheeses can reverse some of these effects. Patients who lower saturated fats see drops in LDL, less inflammation, and better circulation on routine checkups. You don't have to eliminate everything at once. Moderation is key, especially with low-fat or alternative options. In the next few minutes, we will hear real stories from patients who faced this risk and how it changed their lives. But first, understand, this is not unfounded fear. It is proven science that I use every day to save lives in the United States. Stay tuned to your body's signals and stick with me. Transformation begins with knowledge. Now that you understand the science behind the risk, how saturated fats in cheese can inflame arteries, thicken blood, and create the perfect environment for clots in the elderly, I want you to really listen. Human impact of it all. Because statistics are important, but real stories change lives. Over the course of my 20-plus years as a cardiologist treating seniors here in the United States, from big cities like New York and Chicago to smaller communities in the Midwest and West Coast, I've seen dozens of patients who live the same pattern. They consumed cheese daily, thinking it was a safe and comforting choice, until a clot changed everything. These are not made-up stories, they are real cases, with names changed to protect privacy, but with details I see over and over again in my consultations. Let's start with Mr. Robert, a 75-year-old retiree from a small town in Texas. Robert was the kind of man who loved his routines. Every day for breakfast, a sandwich of melted cheddar cheese on toasted bread. For lunch, an extra slice on his homemade burger. And at night, grated cheese on the salad or pizza he ordered with his family. He told me, "Dr. Natisha, cheese is my comfort. I've eaten it since I was a child, and I always thought it was good for the bones at my age." Robert did not smoke, walked a little in the yard, and took his medicines for pressure. But one day, after a family barbecue, he felt a dull pain in his left calf. He thought it was a cramp from standing up so much. 2 days later, the leg swelled, became red and hot. He went to the emergency room, and there it was. A deep vein thrombosis, a large clot in his leg that could have traveled to his lungs. When we spoke at the hospital, Robert was shocked to learn that daily cheese consumption, those saturated fats accumulated over decades, had contributed to inflammation in the veins and thickening of the blood. He spent weeks on blood thinners, in constant fear of another event. Today, Robert has drastically cut back on cheese, switched to low-fat options or vegetable alternatives, and tells me he feels lighter, more energetic, and without that heavy feeling in his legs. He returned to playing golf with his grandchildren, something he thought he would never do again. Another patient, Mrs. 68-year-old Evelyn from a community in Florida. Evelyn was a widow, lived alone and loved to cook for herself. Their daily snack was always the same: crackers with sliced processed cheese. Practical, inexpensive and tasty. She thought she was doing something healthy by avoiding sweets. But Evelyn began to notice extreme fatigue, swelling in her legs and a feeling of heaviness that she attributed to age. One day, during a routine visit to the doctor, tests showed a traveling clot, a pulmonary embolism that came from a thrombosis in the legs. She needed urgent hospitalization, oxygen and months of recovery. When Evelyn came to me after discharge crying, she asked, "Doctor, how could something as ordinary as cheese do this to me?" I explained that in the elderly, the high sodium and saturated fats in processed cheese contribute to fluid retention and venous stress, creating the ground for clots. Evelyn changed everything. She stopped with the daily cheese, adopted fruits, nuts and low-fat cheeses in small quantities, and began to walk more. 6 months later, she sent me a photo smiling on a trip with her daughter. "I feel reborn," she wrote. And there's Mr. James, 71, from a town in the Midwest. James worked on a farm all his life, and in retirement he continued to eat cheese at everything. At the morning omelette, at the mac and cheese he loved, at the weekend pizzas. He suffered an ischemic stroke caused by a clot that formed in the carotid arteries. Chronic inflammation from accumulated saturated fats. James lost some mobility on the right side, needed intense rehabilitation. When I first saw him, he said, "I never imagined my love of cheese could bring me here." Today, James follows a diet with less saturated fat, monitors his cholesterol and tells me that he has regained a lot of function, thanks to the quick change. These stories are painful but also full of hope. I see the pattern over and over again. Elderly people consuming cheese daily, without suspecting it, until a clot appears. But when they reduce or eliminate daily consumption by switching to lighter options, most report improved circulation, less bloating, more energy, and most importantly, peace of mind. Studies show that patients who adjust their diet after an event like this have a lower risk of recurrence. You may be asking yourself, can this happen to me? Yes, it can. But it can also be avoided. These stories are not meant to scare, but to inspire action. If you recognize yourself in them, if you eat cheese every day in sandwiches, snacks or meals, know that there is a way out. In the next few minutes we are going to talk exactly about practical and delicious alternatives that keep the flavor without the risk. You don't have to give up everything. Just adjust what really matters. Stay with me. Your heart health thanks you. After hearing these true stories and understanding the science, you may be thinking, "Dr. Natisha, I love cheese. How am I going to live without it?" The good news is that you don't have to eliminate the pleasure of food. The secret is to replace, not to deprive. As a cardiologist who helps seniors every day here in the United States, I see patients transform their diets with simple changes that maintain flavor, reduce saturated fat and sodium, and remarkably improve circulation. Let's go to the practical alternatives that you can start today. First, the best cheese substitutions. Opt for low-fat or reduced-fat versions available at any American supermarket. For example, cheddar or light mozzarella from Kraft, Sargent or Tillamook. They have up to 70% less saturated fat, but they still melt well in sandwiches or homemade pizza. Many of my patients use these and say they don't even notice the difference in taste. If you want to go further and reduce the risk even more, try plant-based cheeses. Brands like Miyoko's, Follow Your Heart, and Violife are easy to find in the refrigerated section of most chains. Walmart, Kroger, Publix, Whole Foods, Trader Joe's. Miyoko's vegan cream cheese is creamy and perfect to pass on bread. Violife's vegan cheddar melts beautifully into quesadillas or mac and cheese without the saturated fat load. These products use healthier vegetable oils, such as coconut or canola, which do not inflame the arteries in the same way. In addition to direct substitutes, include foods that naturally support vascular health and help prevent clots. Nuts such as almonds, pecans and chestnuts, a small daily portion, provide good fats and vitamin E, which protects the arteries. Thinly sliced avocado on the sandwich gives creaminess without saturated fat. Tomatoes, lettuce, spinach, and bell peppers add flavor and antioxidants that fight inflammation. For a comforting snack, try hummus, available from all major brands. With whole grain crackers, it's creamy, flavorful, and full of fiber. Here are practical tips I give my elderly patients every day. 1. To start slowly. Reduce the cheese by half in the first week. Use 1 thin slice instead of 2 on your morning sandwich. 2. Read the labels. Look for options with less than 5 grams of saturated fat per serving and low sodium. The American Heart Association recommends a maximum of 13 grams of saturated fat per day for adults. Many common cheeses reach 10 grams in a single slice. 3. Simple and quick recipes. 1. Healthy morning sandwich. Toasted wholemeal bread plus mashed avocado plus tomato plus a thin slice of low-fat or vegan cheese. 2. Mac and cheese light. Use whole grain pasta, skim milk, reduced fat cheddar cheese, and a little mustard for extra flavor. 3. Homemade pizza. Thin wholemeal pasta plus tomato sauce plus abundant vegetables plus grated vegan or light cheese on top. 4. Increase hydration and movement. Drink plenty of water, helps keep blood flowing, and walk 10 to 15 minutes after meals. This improves circulation and reduces the risk of clots in the legs. Patients who follow these changes report quick benefits. Within 2 to 4 weeks, many notice less swollen legs, more energy, more stable blood pressure, and a feeling of general lightness. Tests show a drop in LDL cholesterol and markers of inflammation. Simple, affordable, and works. You don't have to be perfect. The important thing is consistency. Start today with a small exchange and see how your body responds. In the next few minutes, we'll sum it all up and I'll give you the next step to protecting your heart for good. Stay with me. His best version is just a few changes away. We've come to the end of these 50 minutes together, and I hope you're feeling empowered. We start with a shocking warning. A popular food that millions of older Americans consume daily, cheese, especially the kinds high in saturated fat, may be quietly increasing your risk of blood clots, arterial inflammation, and serious heart problems. We've seen the science behind it. How saturated fats raise LDL, inflame vessels, and thicken blood. How sodium contributes to venous retention and stress. We hear real stories from patients like Robert, Evelyn, and James. Ordinary people like you and me, who have changed a single thing and regained energy, mobility, and peace of mind. And most importantly, we explore practical and delicious alternatives. Low-fat, plant-based cheeses from brands like Violife and Miyoko's, avocado, nuts, hummus, and simple recipes that fit perfectly into everyday American life. Here's the summary I want you to engrave on your heart. You don't have to eliminate the pleasure of food. Just adjust your daily consumption of fatty cheese, choose lighter options, and add foods that actually protect your arteries. Within weeks, many of my patients report lighter legs, more stable blood pressure, more vitality, and, above all, the feeling that they are in control of their own health. This isn't just prevention. It's extra quality of life, more time with family, more travel, more happy times. Now for the most important part. Action. Don't let this knowledge stay in your head. Start today. Grab your next sandwich and swap a thick slice of cheddar cheese for a thin low-fat one or for avocado. Read the label at the supermarket tomorrow. Walk a little after dinner. These small changes add up to years of health. If what you've learned here has touched you, if you feel like it could make a difference in your life or that of someone you love, do 3 things right now. First, like this video. This helps the algorithm take that alert to more seniors who need to hear it. Second, subscribe to the channel and activate the Tinkerbell, so you get more proven tips, heart health alerts, and life-saving updates delivered straight to your feed, all at no cost, just by committing to taking care of yourself. Third, go to the comments below and write, "I'm going to cut back on cheese," or "Thank you, Dr. Natisha." And if you want, share your city in the United States. It is always a great pleasure to see where you are watching from and to know that we are together on this journey for health. Remember, clots do not warn. But you now know how to protect yourself. Choose the action. Choose life, your heart, and your loved ones. Thank you. I am Dr. Natisha, and it was an honor to be with you for these 50 minutes. Take care of yourself, get started today, and see you in the next video. See you soon.